beautiful island in the world, Virgin Islands. Yeah, man. Check my love. Una dos, una dos, una dos. How would it be? I must them know. If you from the sea, will you there, will you there, will you there? Put your hands in my pie. Represent your home. If you from the sea,
You want some money?
put your flags in my pie. VI to the bar. The party don't start until we reach. No, we don't bring no sun to the beach. All we need to hear is a beat. So we go. So we go.
Good morning. This is Adler Fonsidani here with you once again. And I still call it a bright Monday morning. It's a bright Monday morning here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Rob, I'm getting a little bit of feedback coming in from in there. I think there's a playover from one of the. Good morning. This is Adler Fonsidani here with you once again. You hearing it, Rob? Bright Monday morning. It's a bright Monday morning here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Rob, I'm getting a little bit of feedback coming in from. I was hearing the song playing, but I guess it might be. Still getting this feedback. I don't know what it's. Maybe it's the microphone. Okay, it was the microphone.
I can still hear it though.
You can still hear it?
Yeah. It's my headphones. Are you using this? Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, still hearing it.
I don't know.
How loud is it?
Okay, it was the microphone. You can still hear it? Still hear that.
I hear it too. But I have nothing else.
And it's nothing else I have here. Anyway, let me continue until maybe we could identify exactly what it is. So I wanted to say good morning to everyone. This is Adler Fonsi down the store here again, live at WSTA. And this morning, as I indicated, and I advertised, circulated over social media and also onto different platforms. Hold on here. I think that's what it is. Yeah. No, I got it corrected now. Okay, we got it.
You got it?
Okay, again, this is Adolf Fonsi down the store. I apologize, folks. Sometimes we run into these little dilemmas, but, things happen. Technology is what it is. We are trying to multitask here in the studio. And before I move on even to the subject matter this morning, the topic that we're supposed to be discussing this morning, which is the Veterans Affairs, benefits and services provided or available to veterans here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And I think it's something very, very important. I continue to maintain that when it comes to veterans, it's really unfortunate that even the population, citizens here in the Virgin Islands cannot vote for the President of the United States. But if there's ever a selective or draft, we will be treated just like anyone else and would be drafted to fight in the fight with the armed services in any war. And of course, there is, and people often describe it as a second-class citizen. That's what we are in the U.S. Virgin Islands, second-class citizens. But it is what it is, and that is for us to establish a strong argument coming from the different tiers of government, levels of government, the highest level of government, to establish an argument with the United States Congress to perhaps change the language, of course, in a partnership with some of the most effective lobbyists, which would be our neighbor, Puerto Rico. But that's going to be a subject we could discuss later on. But just a little bit of updates, going through the updates. I know many of you have been tuned into this George Floyd case. And, it's quite alarming. And it's, to me, the case has been polarizing. Because what the case is actually doing is highlighting that stigma, that the racism that exists in the United States, the treatment of black men. But it's actually raising, to me, raising a consciousness, and it could go one or two ways. And one or two ways that it can go is that if this case goes the wrong way, I'm very, very concerned that there's going to be a reaction from the black community, and especially starting in his hometown, where he suffered an unfortunate fate. But the case have disclosed a lot of things in terms of the way that he was treated and being categorized as murder by all the professionals that actually provided testimony on record. I don't see how this case can evolve or result in anything outside of a guilty verdict. But they say that you're innocent until proven guilty. Moving on, updates. A couple of weeks ago, I made a public statement about Epstein Island. And I want to repeat it again because I was talking to some people for some charter services, owners of charters, and they indicated the same thing that I've been saying, that everyone that comes here, they just want to visit Epstein Island. And, if we don't see that there's a golden opportunity there and we miss that opportunity, we are going to truly miss the boat. And that is a lot of potential revenues that can be realized for the coffers, for the government of the Virgin Islands. And as I said, because a couple of people indicated to me that they felt that because of its history, I understand that, I agree with the history, I agree with all of that. But when you have tourists that are coming to the Virgin Islands, the question that I would pose to folks is, what is the difference between folks coming to the Virgin Islands and posing in front of a sugar mill? And we have many sugar mills here, from St. John, St. Thomas, St. Croix. We have several sugar mills. Now people come, they want to learn about its history. And we know what's associated to sugar mills. It had a horrible history. But guess what? Today, in modern day, we're using it to our advantage as part of our marketing packages, because what? People want to learn about the history of the Virgin Islands, and we share it with them. We provide site visits. So I'm saying that this may be an excellent opportunity for us to have an island that everyone want to see, because they're curious to learn about its history. They want to see the aesthetics. They want to see what exists. And it is what it is. Moving on. I had the opportunity to visit last week the E. Benjamin Oliver School. And I was totally, I remained disappointed, because this is not the first time I've seen it or mentioned anything about it. Anyone that goes to my Facebook page can see where I have blogged several times about the conditions of that school. That school has a rich history. That school at one point had probably one of the best bands, music programs throughout most of the public schools in the Virgin Islands. All of that have gone to the wayside. And I'm saying that the school, if you go there, you can see the infrastructure the structure is still up. Yes, the structure has been compromised, but I believe that it can be resurrected. But ultimately, do you realize that the name E. Benjamin Oliver in itself, you're actually killing an individual? Again, God rest his soul. Thank you for his contributions. Do you know that he was founder of the Daily News? Nobody knows that. But the school bearing his name as an educator, you're killing his legacy by leaving a school remain dormant and not rehabilitating it and making or putting it to use. The only problem that I saw existed with that school is the ingress-egress, which can be modified, and they can provide a different access point for the school. If they need ideas, I will lead them to those ideas. But that school should not continue to be there in total disrepair. A derelict piece of property. I'm disappointed to see what it looks like, and I'm hoping that we save the legacy of E. Benjamin Oliver to begin with. He has families here, and I'm sure that some of his families are listening to this program, and they can relate to what I'm saying. But don't let his legacy die. Don't kill his legacy. Just like other schools that have been closed. Those are people legacies that you're playing with. So anyway, talking about legacy, talking about naming government property. I learned over the weekend that there's been a movement and there's a battle at the same time to name the new waterfront pier after, I believe, John DeYoung. And then there was a discussion about naming it after the former Kenneth Mapp. And I believe that this is a movement now with the legislature to actually name that pier. And it's going to be interesting, folks, because, and I'm going to save that discussion for a later date and even provide my opinion in connecting the dots and providing you with history, which is a history that I think the governor needs to know as well, in terms of where that vision started. And that goes back to former Governor Snyder. I just want to commend him again. The hospital is named after him, but who fully executed the project? I think there's going to have to be a lot of things into consideration with this particular issue. But it's been looming, and I understand that there's a back and forth, and they're trying to dismiss one of the individuals that I call over another, and it's going to be an interesting discussion and mix. So, moving on, last but not least, before we get to our guests this morning, which have to do with Veterans Affairs in the Virgin Islands. And I'm talking about none other than the state director, Mr. Patrick Farrell, who I think has been doing a tremendous job. I mean, I see him all over, and I think that veterans in the Virgin Islands need an advocate that is aggressive, active. And this morning we're going to discuss benefits and services in the Virgin Islands, because a lot of veterans even go to Puerto Rico to seek health care services. Maybe because they don't have confidence in our health care program or services that we have over here. But I've also heard veterans complaining about how they're treated in Puerto Rico. So we want to discuss this morning the services that we have here in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and discuss what programs we have looming, what programs we have on the horizon, because I think there's a lot of veterans out there. And again, I say this quite often. I believe that veterans deserve the world. And when I say veterans deserve the world, you go to fight for a country. You come back to the U.S. Virgin Islands, or you come back to the United States in general, and they're expecting to be, at least receive some benefits. And I must say that we have seen some progress over the years in a lot of the programs that they're developing. And I'm not just talking about the United States Congress. I'm talking about the U.S. Virgin Islands as well, where we have provided, serving as a senator myself, I remember supporting, sponsoring tuition for veterans in the Virgin Islands without them having to pay for it. And that in itself, it's just those things that we want to see in place to ensure that veterans are receiving a fair shake and receiving fair assistance here in the U.S. Virgin Islands as well. So I have here with me this morning the director, and we'll patch him in a few minutes once I get all this stuff set up. Technology is what it is, and we continue to grow even with technology. I tell you that it gets, it's ever evolving. Yes, so I have Mr. Farrell here with me. He's actually in the studio, folks. So for those of you who want to call in, after we go into discussion our platform or arrangement is normally we afford the public an opportunity to call in and express or ask questions about any particular concerns that you have. So, without any further ado, I know this person, many of us on the street, and let me just officially introduce him. We know this person by soldier, grassroots, being part of Cool Session Brass, and participating in a lot of different community affairs throughout the Virgin Islands, and eventually landing in the position, being a part of the National Guard. So he is, in fact, comes with a military background, and I think that, as I indicated, that he have done a tremendous job in the Veterans Affairs Office, and I wanted to have him on the program this morning because I think the one person that would be qualified to respond to questions or inquiries about anything having to do with Veterans Affairs in the Virgin Islands would be Mr. Patrick W. Farrell. Good morning, Mr. Farrell.
Pleasant good morning to you and your listeners, actually. And it's definitely an honor to be here sharing some time with you so I could speak with you and address concerns that your listening audience may have this morning. I'm ready, willing, and available to do just that. So I'm present.
Well, thank you for accepting the invitation. First of all, I know I just called you on your cell phone and I asked you about participating on the program this morning to discuss stuff about Veterans Affairs. Now, let me start out the question in asking you. I know that it's a Herculean task in terms of trying to manage the office, in the process of managing the office, actually addressing a lot of the concerns that veterans have throughout the Virgin Islands. Do you have a strong relationship with the American Legion?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, let me start by saying, yes, it is a Herculean task, but I have one of the best staffs that you could have in the Virgin Islands government. And of course, every director or commissioner may say the same, but I love to give credit where credit is due. I call them the pillars of the Office of Veterans Affairs. So I really enjoy having the staff that I have on board with me right now. It's an excellent team, and that's how we make things happen. As far as the American Legion, the relationship with the American Legion, I am actually a member of the American Legion post number 90 here on St. Thomas. So
Okay.
that goes without saying.
Okay, well, that's good to hear because I believe that the membership, if anyone can, in fact, provide the concerns that they have here in the Virgin Islands based on experiences, would be the members
Right.
of the American Legion. What programs exist for academic pursuits?
Okay, academic pursuits for veterans, a matter of fact, right here in the Virgin Islands, thanks to the legislative body of the Virgin Islands, which included senators like yourself, today, Virgin Islands veterans, I must stress on Virgin Islands veterans, are able to go to our local University of the Virgin Islands here and not pay any tuition. Yes, they pay the fees, but they are not. They don't have to pay any tuition for academic degree courses. Now, that even within the last couple of years, thanks to Senator Sanders, him and myself, we partnered together and got it to where legislation is in effect to where veterans could go and take up to doctoral level classes and still not pay tuition, just paying the fees. So that is something I was happy to work alongside Senator Sanders with. And also at the UVI cell, if you attend the UVI cell as a veteran, there is absolutely no cost for a UVI cell course, 100% for VI veterans.
That's good. And you see, this is what the public needs to know when it comes to the services that are available, or benefits or programs that are available for veterans in the Virgin Islands, because I'm sure there's a few veterans out there that is not familiar. Now, question. If you have a veteran that ended up homeless, what would be the direction or what would be the role of the Veterans Affairs Office in providing, in terms of assistance for a homeless person, a homeless veteran?
I am actually happy to answer that question, believe it or not, because the key word in there is role. What is the role of the Office of
Yeah.
Veterans Affairs? And I think it's important for the public to understand that the role of the Office of Veterans Affairs is mainly advocacy. Okay? Now, plenty of times, more times than some, we actually get involved a little bit more than advocacy. And because of that, some veterans hold us to a standard like, okay, we're not getting this, we're not getting that, where many a times it is not really within our role. However, we don't shun on that. We still go ahead. Like, there are many things that may take place within the VA medical facility, what we call the community-based outpatient clinic, the VA clinic on St. Thomas and St. Croix. And when we get those calls, instead of shunning off to it, we get involved because we have a great relationship with the VA Caribbean healthcare system, which manages the community-based outpatient clinic on St. Thomas and St. Croix. A great relationship. I mean, personal cell phone to personal cell phone relationship where we could get just about anything accomplished. But back to your question on the homeless veteran. We have a partnership again with the Methodist Training and Outreach Center. If there is a veteran that becomes homeless, if they call us first, then we will turn and we get involved with the MTOC is what I call them, and see what services they have available at the time. Now, I'd also want the folks to understand that there is something that's your salary, which includes for older veterans your Social Security and retirements and sorts of stuff like that. All of that is taken into consideration before you are afforded benefits, even though you are homeless. Because there are some cases where we have veterans that become homeless, but they do not meet the threshold to be afforded services to help them to become not homeless. But the MTOC is a great program. They too receive grant funding every single year to assist our veterans. So that's why they are one of our primary stakeholders as far as it relates to veterans being homeless.
So the program that you partnership with and the position of the Veterans Affairs Office, do you focus on housing, rehabilitation, or both?
Both.
Okay, because you understand that sometimes if you provide housing for them, it could leave an impression, or their perception could be that it would be in perpetuity and not necessarily a program that is temporary.
Absolutely.
For rehabilitation and to get them back on their feet.
Absolutely. And in the rehabilitation phase, of course, we link them with the correct medical services that they may need for the rehabilitation, because you may have a veteran that qualifies for some type of assistance with housing. However, that person may not be medically sound to be able to maintain that particular housing. So thanks for that question. It's both rehabilitation and housing.
Okay. Because, and just to pivot a second here, have you ever seen that Michelle Motel?
I have.
I think that Michelle Motel, they should consider converting it even to that as an option, as a rehabilitation,
Specifically
program
for veterans?
specifically for veterans.
Okay.
Because that Michelle Motel now is an eyesore to begin with. It's a problem for people in the community that live immediately or in proximity, and it's really serving no purpose. I went down there as recent as I think it was Saturday just to look and see what they have done with it. Okay, granted, the government put a bin in there, cleaned it up, but if you see it today, it's back to what it was before, with a lot of trash around the building. Nobody wants that, as a neighbor.
I totally agree. And as a matter of fact, while it sounds, and I have to be blatantly honest, while it sounds good for it to be specifically for veterans, that building may be too large because a lot of people may think so, but we do not have a homeless veteran population that will probably fill that entire Michelle Motel structure. So if it's a partnership with somebody else, another organization, then maybe that can work. But just specifically for veterans, we may not have enough veterans to fill that building, which is a good thing.
But let
It's
me ask.
actually a good
But let
thing.
me ask you this question: would your comment actually be with the consideration of St. Croix, what exists in St. Croix, what exists in St. John, all inclusive?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because again, there is a threshold that has to be met, and I want to take away this myth that a lot of people have, not only in the Virgin Islands but across the nation. As soon as they see somebody that's homeless or look like they may have a medical mental condition,
Yeah.
that's a veteran. I want to tell you that that is not the absolute truth. That is just a myth. Not everybody that's on the street because of whatever the situation may be
Yeah.
are veterans. So, and yes, I will
And-
say
and
that
I-
we do have some veterans that are in that condition, but
Yeah.
they're not all
Yeah.
veterans.
Yeah.
They're not.
Well, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out.
Right.
And I was not assuming. I'm just, and if you know, if you go back to what I initially asked, I specifically said that are veterans who are homeless.
Right.
So moving on, in terms of healthcare services in the Virgin Islands, does the Veterans Affairs Office advocate and encourage veterans to use our local doctors, local service providers?
That's a yes and a no. So let's deal with the no first.
Okay.
We don't advocate for veterans to just go out in the community and use service providers here arbitrarily, because they would need to be a part of the VA community care network. If they just go to any old provider, there may not be a reimbursement from the VA involved.
Okay.
Now, let's go to the yes side. Yes to those that are within the VA community care network, because there's already a system and a process set up to where those particular doctors can get reimbursed by the VA. So
Okay.
definitely for those that are within the network. And I would say that if there are veterans out there that have a doctor that they are interested in being the one that's going to provide them service, I encourage you to call my office and let's get that doctor set up within the VA community care network. That will be the key right there for them to come certified in that program.
So in terms of the percentage of doctors that participate in the program, what would you say the percentage is?
It's not a good percentage, and I tell you why. And my office, along with the Congresswoman's office, Stacey Plaskett, have had this conversation, even with the VISN, which is the higher headquarters for the VA Caribbean Healthcare Network. We don't have too many doctors, specialty doctors, that are part of the community care network in the Virgin Islands, simply because the reimbursement rate is so low. And it's low probably across the nation, but we have a difference here. Our cost of living, it is a lot more than some of the doctors that may be on the mainland that need to keep their overhead. If you think about it, think about the rent, electricity, and all the utilities. Our doctors here have a higher overhead. So the reimbursement rate right now is not good. And some doctors have even expressed to us that it will take 4 to 5 veterans to equal one regular paying patient when you talk about the reimbursement rate. So that's something we have talked about with the Congresswoman's office, and even up to the VA central office about, because that is something that Congress has to change. It cannot be changed overnight. Congress has to be the one to change that when you talk about the medical reimbursement rate. I think it even goes into with the stuff with human services as well. So that's a very, very, it's a sore topic, but is one that is being addressed. I would love to have every doctor in the Virgin Islands able to see our veterans, because that will mean that none of our veterans have to travel anywhere for any medical services. They could get the services here in their hometown, where it's not an inconvenience to travel for a whole day for a 20-minute appointment. They could stay right here in the Virgin Islands and do what needs to be done. But these and others are things that we are working on every single day within the Office of Veterans Affairs.
Okay. And folks, the number to call here, WSTA, is 340-774-1340. Lucky 13, WSTA. The lines will be open in the next, whenever the calls start to come in, we're prepared to entertain the phone calls. The subject that we're discussing this morning, of course, is Veterans Affairs benefits and services extended to veterans here in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Now, that line that we were just discussing, Mr. Farrell, in terms of the healthcare providers, physicians that provide services here in the Virgin Islands, and they make a comparison with the regular paying patients that come to the office versus the reimbursement percentages. That is something that I am sure that you, along with other administrators, would have to sit with these physicians to see if there's a workable plan locally. Is that correct?
Well, I have scheduled a town hall. You want to take the call?
Yeah, we have a call
Okay,
coming in.
let's take the call.
Morning, you're on the air. Connect the dots.
Yes, good morning, Sir Donald Stork.
Morning.
I'm sorry that I'm not calling Mr. Farley guest. Good morning. I'm a little lightweight. It's not about the subject. I'm just calling to make a citizen report because this is sickening.
Yeah.
I just witnessed a security guard by the post office, passing the post office, Veterans Post Office, throw a piece of paper out of a vehicle. The license plate number is TFO 360. I'm going to report this to the police because this is sickening. I was right across and I couldn't believe it. Roll her window down and just toss paper out onto the streets. And this is why, we can't keep our streets, safe. A correctional officer did this. So I'm going to report it. I'm going to call every news outlet because I am tired of seeing, just trying to clean our streets. And our own people sometimes are contributing to, the way our streets are looking. So continue with your program. I continue to listen.
Okay. Thanks for calling.
That's
All right.
Good citizen.
Bye-bye.
Well,
Good
there's
citizen report.
concerned citizens in the Virgin Islands, and I'm
Yes.
telling you, we have all this roadside cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
These folks that go out volunteer with these organizations to be cleaning up the islands.
Correct.
And, for you to see people dumping trash out their window just like that, arbitrarily just throwing it out, that's having no conscience.
It starts with us.
Yeah.
It starts with us. We are quickly, we quickly blame others for destroying certain things within the community. Of course, that's another subject for another day.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's us ourselves. So
That's for sure. I remember cleaning up. I ain't gonna even call the community. Assembling a whole group of people. We went out there, worked hard a Saturday and a Sunday to clean up this entire area. And believe it or not, in less than a week, the place was actually, it was almost like the folks in some of the buildings was just waiting for us to finish so they could start again.
sad.
And that's sad. We have to be a little bit more considerate, a little bit more, conscious of our environment. And if we all contribute in that way to keep the place clean, the Virgin Islands will look a lot more attractive.
I totally agree.
Not only for ourselves, but the visitors coming in. So moving on back to the subject, again, folks, the number to call here is 340-774-1340, 1340 here at WSTA.
If I can, I want to go back to the question before the call. You mentioned if we would get the physicians together and, have some kind of plan to go forward. But I tell you that I organized in the past 2 town halls strictly for physicians. And what we did is we brought in folks from Central Office VA to discuss different things, what would help the providers to come on board. And the main complaint was the reimbursement rate.
Yeah.
I can almost say, and speak for them without even their permission on this one. But if the reimbursement rate was increased, we would not have an issue with our veterans being seen right here in the Virgin Islands because there's enough doctors and enough specialty doctors with their own practices that we could make it happen. It's just the reimbursement rate.
Okay. Well, considering the amount of veterans we have versus the general population, I can only hope that the doctors become a little bit more sympathetic as well in terms of providing services to those veterans locally in the meantime, at least until we're able to secure additional funding for the U.S. Virgin Islands, and it would obviously be in general when the United States Congress act on changing any laws or creating any benefits.
Well, I tell you what, though, in our defense of some of the service providers,
Yeah.
I know I had a couple good friends that are doctors that continue to service our VA, our veterans for the low reimbursement costs, but
Yeah.
they just could not hack it any longer because the overhead, as we know,
Yeah.
is getting higher and higher.
They're racking up
single day.
costs.
It's racking up costs, and they
Okay.
just couldn't handle it. So they decided to move ahead and, use that spot for someone else that's a regular paying patient. And if you look at it, look at someone that's been doing it for years, doctors that have been doing it for years, giving their services, I know it would come to a breaking point where they would actually have to move on, sadly.
Well, I could only imagine, but we hear veterans talk about it all the time, and you wonder why would they decide to go to Puerto Rico, and the same reimbursement structure is in place even in Puerto Rico. So I'm just wondering, is it that you have hospitals or services provided in Puerto Rico that is a little different and is subsidized by something else?
Well, actually, when they go to Puerto Rico, if they are VA referred,
Yeah.
they go to the VA medical facility.
Okay, that's what I was figuring.
that's in Puerto Rico.
And that's a difference.
And I will tell you that if you ever get a chance to visit the facility in Puerto Rico, it's an A1 facility. I know that quite some years ago there have been complaints about the language barrier.
Yeah.
I will say to you that the language barrier have increased significantly. I'm not going to sit here and say that there's no language barrier. I would not ever say that. However, it has increased significantly, and there are some veterans here in the Virgin Islands that the only place they want to be seen is within their VA medical facility in San Juan. So yes, you may have some that do not want to go to the VA in Puerto Rico, and you have some that's the only place that they want to go. I will also say that for you veterans that have not been to the VA medical facility in Puerto Rico in amount of years, please give them another try, give them another shot. Different things have been done to increase the services on the positive side, especially for us Virgin Islanders. So I would say those of you that have complaints from years back and still holding on to that, give them at least one more try. And let's see how it is now.
Okay, we'll take a quick commercial break just to play some of the commercials for a couple of my sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to discuss what's in place with respect to home or land and home ownership, because I think that's that area is really an important area because every veteran wants to own a piece of the rock.
It's First Stop 24-hour gas and grocery store. Your number one convenience store, located across from Vitraco Park. You name it, and they have it. From electronic accessories to your favorite drinks. And from gas to groceries. You name it, and they have it. First Stop 24-hour gas and grocery, located across from Vitraco Park. Check it out, your favorite store for gas and grocery. It's catch of the day. From the water to the pot to your mouth, everything is fresh at Catch of the Day, located on Cookie Point Beach. Enjoy some of your favorite seafood dishes, fresh catch, lobster, tank, and whelks, when in season, as well as surf and turf. They cater to your wishes. While you sit and wait for your food, enjoy the friendly bar and bask in the ambient bar and bask in enjoy the white sand, sun, and crystal blue water. We are sure the experience will be unique. Monday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Come and enjoy Catch of the Day on Cookie Point Beach.
Yes, that's those are sponsors, folks. I can't do it without those valued sponsors. And I had a lobster at Catch of the Day just the other day. That lobster was so big, but it wasn't so much the size, it was the taste. That butter sauce that after they take it off the grill, that they pour on top of the lobster. Have you been there, Mr. Farah?
I haven't been there yet, but I'm gonna take your recommendation because I'm a seafood type of guy.
Yeah.
I don't eat red meat and stuff like that. So catch up the day, here I come.
Okay. Well, back to the discussion of veterans benefits and services. I want to ask you, what's in place currently for veterans, with respect to land and home ownership?
On the local side, there's two tiers to this. On the local side, we have the Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority, who has a program in place for veterans. With that program, you get up to $220,000 to build your property. Now, I will tell you that the same thing we were talking about with overhead.
Yeah.
How far would $220,000 actually get you on building a real structure these days? You'll have to take it piece by piece and then maybe go into your pocket and deal with the rest. And one of the good things about that program for qualified veterans is 0% down. 0% down, that entire $220,000. And it's at, I think, 4%. It's at 4%. I don't know of anywhere else that you're going to get a rate like that. However, myself and Governor Bryan had a conversation just 2 weeks ago, and we have an idea where we can have some additional funding available for veterans. It's not ready to launch yet, but we are going to have a second meeting on that within the next 2 weeks, and hopefully that'll be something that we could come forward. We're working with the banks, the local banks, to get something going in addition to that for our veterans. Now, on the federal side, you have the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, the Benefit Administration, to where if you're a qualified veteran, this is nationwide. There's a home loan guarantee program, to where the Veterans Affairs, they're not the financial institution that gives you the funding, but once you get the funding, and it's based on your credit, once you are able to get the funding from a financial institution, then they will back the loan for you in that sense, and that does take place in the Virgin Islands as well. However, they're not doing any construction loans. They're only doing loans to purchase an existing structure for your home. Now, of course, we know that many of the homes, a large percentage of the homes here in the Virgin Islands, are older homes. The only folks that are building homes right now, and this is because of the cost, are those that have some kind of a silver spoon or gold spoon in the mouth. I mean, let's be realistic. For somebody that's middle income to go out and just arbitrarily build a house from ground up, it's very, very hard here within the Virgin Islands.
So let me see if I get it correctly, because I'm a stickler for details. You mentioned that the PFA, Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority, is providing loans.
Yes.
At an interest rate of 4%.
4%.
Do you know the average interest rate, especially during the COVID-19 crisis, what it is today?
I do not.
Okay. There are institutions right now lending money at 2.8%. I believe it fell even to as low as 2.5%.
In the Virgin Islands?
And no, just banking institutions throughout the United States. And of course, I don't know what the standard rate is here. That's what I'm asking. But I do know that even the local banking institution may have gone down to as little as 3.6, 3.5. Now, if the Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority still maintains at 4% without any adjustment, I think that is something that they need to reconsider in terms of the interest rate and remaining competitive with other places. But because remember now, if it's a higher percentage, a higher interest rate, that is of no benefit to a veteran, because then you kill the benefit.
To be honest with you, I don't know of a lending institution in the Virgin Islands that's lending at 2.5%. Me personally, maybe I may need to do my research. But in addition,
I said 3.5% locally, but go ahead.
Okay, even
2.5 in the States.
Okay, and 3.5 locally? Okay.
Yeah, about 3.5, yeah.
Okay.
Locally.
Okay, good. And then I will tell you that with the Housing Finance Authority, with that 4%, I just want to reiterate that that's 0%, zero down.
Zero down.
Zero down. They don't have to come up out of the pocket. Once qualified, not a dime out of their own pocket.
Okay. I just want to see the interest rate still change, because guess what? zero down only means that there's going to be a higher mortgage payment. Because if you put on the 10%, you have adjusted the monthly
Correct.
mortgage payment.
Correct.
And the higher percentage in a deposit that you provide is the lower your mortgage payments could potentially be.
And on the other hand, how much of us can actually go in the pocket
Yeah.
and make that significant down payment?
True.
So it's actually, I see it as a help. And as a matter of fact, it was before 4, it was 6. So it was lowered to 4.
That's really high. I mean, the way the market is going now, I think in the Virgin Islands, you probably still have, I would say it's still a buyer's market. Because after the hurricanes, and there being a lot of distressed properties here in the U.S. Virgin Islands, it's probably not going to support being a seller's market and more so a buyer's market.
Right.
But that's for us, some of the professionals out there who are listening to be able to qualify or correct or provide some consistent and accurate information
Yes.
on that particular premise. Now, is the USVI in sync with the national standards for vets?
As it relates to
Government,
as it relates to what specifically?
just in general, different programs. Let's say if veterans have a special program in the States where they're able to get tuition money,
Okay.
and that tuition money is at a certain cap or at a certain level. Is the U.S. Virgin Islands equivalent or equal to that? Is it equitable?
Okay. So I must make the distinction between the federal and the state laws. On the federal side, Virgin Islands veteran absolutely gets the same exact thing as it relates to, I'm speaking about tuition now, the same exact thing as it relates to tuition to any veteran across the nation on the
Yeah.
federal side. On the state side, the Virgin Islands, I know this may not have been heard too much before, but the Virgin Islands has the best tuition program for veterans across the United States of America. There is no other states where a veteran can go to their local university and go up to doctoral classes for free and only pay the tuition. And again, thanks to our local state legislators, specifically ex-Senator Samuel Sanders, who's now the administrator for St. Croix. Me and him, we sat together and we made that happen, the best across the nation.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Now, let me ask you about the Veterans Affairs Office. Do you feel that you have adequate resources available to you to be able to extend the assistance that local veterans need?
As it relates to resources, we have ample resources. Of course, we can have more resources in certain areas. But I will tell you this, and this is a great segue into one of the things I wanted to be able to touch on here this morning. Registration of our veterans in the Virgin Islands. Right now, we have upwards of 8,000 veterans here in the Virgin Islands. But how many of them...
Wait, how many did you say? 8,000?
Correct. Throughout the territory.
That's a lot.
However, it's a lot. However, where the benefits count is our veterans need to be registered within the medical care side of VA. Right now, we only have about 1,700 territory-wide. The question that always comes up, why we don't have a VA hospital here in the Virgin Islands? Well, let's look at the business model. Okay, I know you're a businessman yourself. Let's talk about the business model for a second. You only have 1,700 people across the territory that are registered as veterans on the medical side. Do we want to put a hospital, an entire hospital, in place for 1,700 veterans that are registered? And within that 1,700 that are registered, all of them don't need to be in a hospital. So sometimes it boils down to dollars and cents. And yes, I get it. I am for all veterans being able to get equal care across the nation. I get it. I'm with that. However, as a business model, putting down a 150-bed hospital for veterans that are not using the system may not be the best thing. So financially, and these were the folks that came before us, financially they made the decision that it will make more sense to fly our veterans to Puerto Rico, one, or two, get more providers within the territory to see our veterans so that our veterans don't have to fly. So it's a
So let me
catchy kind of thing.
Yeah, let me navigate back to the statistic that you just provided.
Correct.
You said that there's only 1,700 veterans that are registered here in the U.S. Virgin Islands out of over 8,000.
Correct.
The question that I would ask, piggybacking on that, is what type of outreach programs do you currently have to be able to reach veterans for them to even want to participate?
Okay. Outreach is something that we do on an ongoing basis. Before COVID, we were doing outreaches quarterly. And I'm talking about when we do our outreaches, we have a partnership with the VA Caribbean Healthcare System out of San Juan, and even the visiting headquarters, who's up in St. Petersburg, Florida. We'll all partner and come together. We'll have registration drives on a regular occurring basis. We started this one thing. We had for healthcare, we had not a town hall, but where they come in and see medical providers right there on the spot. We used to have it in the mall on St. Thomas, and then we used to have it on St. Croix in the Sunshine Mall, and it was like poorly attended. We need our veterans to get registered. That's the key. In order for if all 8,000 were registered here in the territory, I could almost guarantee you that we will have a larger medical facility ran and funded by the federal government here in the Virgin Islands. But we must get our veterans to register.
You see, the reason I'm asking you that question is simply because, and I shouldn't use simply, because there's another issue looming out there. If I were to ask you, based on your statistics, how many veterans right now is seeking services from the Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority under the roofing program or the home rehabilitation program or even rental units? Would you be able to provide that?
That question I cannot answer. I cannot answer that
Okay,
question.
so now you understand why I asked the question about the outreach programs. Because if you don't have an aggressive outreach program, there are veterans that don't depend on the government or don't want to depend on the government for anything. There are veterans out there who may have qualified to participate in that home or roofing program or home repair program under Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority and may not have the correct agency to guide them because they're not registered or they don't see an outreach program. So I think that some emphasis has to be placed on that outreach program to really try to capture them. Capture email addresses, capture numbers, capture addresses, capture a lot of information that could be useful in reaching the veterans of the Virgin Islands.
Well, I will also tell you this, and you jog my memory as you were speaking. Every time that the Housing Finance Authority has an outreach where they have different organizations coming in to talk about the different programs that we have, the Office of Veterans Affairs has a table there, and the staff members of my office are present each and every time. So when the veterans come, we partner with a lot of different organizations within the committee, and Housing Finance Authority is absolutely one of them. So we are there, their outreaches as well.
Well, see, when I talk about outreach program, I'm talking about a program that is completely or well-rounded. So let me share this with you. I look at outreach as an extension or a part of a marketing strategy intended to capture the candidate's attention, meaning veterans. So you have multiple platforms. For example, I don't really see the presence of anything that involves veterans. Let's say, for example, social media.
You
A
don't?
commercial with local people, local veterans, encouraging other veterans to come and participate in the program because it could be beneficial to them and they can, in fact, identify probably services that they may need. The billboards, them digital billboards that you see out there, sidewalk, signage, and the list goes on and on and on. I believe that incorporating all those different elements could be an effective outreach program. So I don't know what the campaign is at this time. It's all about a slogan and veterans in general being able to relate to that messaging.
Well, I will tell you that social media is one of the places that we do have a prominent presence.
Okay.
The office. We have our own. I have a few different ways that different veterans can reach out to the office to find information. We do have a Facebook page, which is very active. We
Okay.
have a website for the first time. We launched that website about a year and a half.
I
or
see.
so
I
ago.
like the website.
Okay. We also have, I have my own radio show every single Tuesday on another radio station. We use our daily periodicals.
Okay.
We use different radio stations to post our commercial when we have events. We have now the last thing we did is we have a system where if you send a text to this specific number and text in VI Vets and just load your information, name, number, address, that kind of thing, you'll never ever have to do anything else on that. Every time I put out a press release, it automatically comes to your phone. So we have about 6 or 7 different platforms that we are on, trying to capture every generation or every type of person. Because some folks will say, "Well, I don't listen to radio." Okay, but I go on the net. Okay, so then they have the website. Well, I don't go on the net too much, but I go on Facebook. Okay, so you have social media. So we have about 6 or 7 different platforms out there we could reach each and every veteran if they want to be reached.
Well, Mr. Farrell, thank you for being on the program. We're down almost to just a few minutes before we conclude the program, and I wanted to extend you as I normally do with my guests and give you an opportunity. Is there any particular message that you would like to convey to the audience out there with that section of the audience who are veterans?
I absolutely. The one key word that I want to leave here today with your listening audience is register. Register. Just like any other organization and with federal entities, the more folks that you have documented on your books or registered is the more funding that comes available to you. Everybody knows that this is how it works. Veterans, in order for us to get this thing up and running better for all of us, we need to get you to register. That is my message this morning.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing maybe still a state-of-the-art facility that provides for the local veterans.
Absolutely.
If it's one island, it's fine. Whichever island it is on, a facility where it could be some kind of rehabilitation. Because remember, every veteran that needs services, that don't mean that only veterans who are homeless need assistance.
Right.
There are veterans that need all types of different assistance.
And with that, I will tell
Yeah.
you this. There is something that's coming up on the island of St. Croix real soon
Okay.
for our veterans. And when that does happen, even though it's on the island of St. Croix, because I know you have a broad, wide array of listeners all over the world, I'm going to come back and you're going to be one of the places I come to lose that information. But it's happening and it's going to happen real soon.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. And I think it's welcome news for the veterans of the Virgin Islands. But I wanted to thank you for taking the time out this morning to participate and connect the dots and disseminating information that I think would be of significant value to veterans out there in the community. And hopefully we could have a follow-up, as
Absolutely.
you indicated.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just let me know what the available or the timeline is, and I could always factor it into the program.
And if you have an empty spot, you have my number, like you said earlier. Give me a call. I'll make it happen.
Okay. So, folks, that's this was Mr. Farrell, Patrick Farrell, that we had here, the State Director for the Office of Veterans Affairs, that we had here with us this morning. And we just wanted to thank him for participating in the program this morning and providing you with with information that I think could be of value, whether it's an uncle, a father, a cousin, whatever it is that's a veteran. you could share with them the information, because I think it's extremely important. Because the role that veterans, we wait till Veterans Day to thank them for their service, and we should be thanking them every day of the year. Because after all, a lot of them, especially those who made the ultimate sacrifice that is no longer here with us, you know, aside from that, you have veterans who are alive that still made a sacrifice and have suffered something as a result of fighting for this great country, for us to enjoy our freedoms. So on that note, I'm going to go and navigate over to my sponsors once again to thank them for their continued contribution in terms of the sponsorship of this program, which is of great value to us.
It's Catch of the Day. From the water to the pot to your mouth, everything is fresh at Catch of the Day, located on Cookie Point Beach. Enjoy some of your favorite seafood dishes: fresh catch, lobster, tongue, and whelks when in season, as well as surf and turf. They cater to your wishes. While you sit and wait for your food, enjoy the friendly bar and bask in the ambience that is second to none. Enjoy the white sand, sun, and crystal blue water. We are sure the experience will be unique. Monday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Come and enjoy Catch of the Day on Cookie Point Beach. It's First Up 24-hour gas and grocery store. Your #1 convenience store, located across from Vitraco Park. You name it, and they have it. From electronic accessories to your favorite drinks. And from gas to groceries. You name it, and they have it. First Stop 24-hour gas and grocery, located across from Vitraco Park. Check it out, your favorite store for gas and grocery.
So folks, this was Adela Fonsi down here with you. I want to just thank each and every one of you for listening to the program this morning. And until next Monday, the same time. And as I usually say, each and every one of you, have a blessed day and a productive week. So see you next Monday, same time, 10 to 11 a.m. here live on WSTA.